All right. Hi guys. So this video is the continuation of the question that we had in the previous video as well, that who is the greatest of all time. In the last video we talked about Nadal, and in this video we'll be talking about Federer. So if you think that Nadal is the greatest of all time, then please do watch my previous video. And for today's video we'll be talking about Federer, all the points that are in favor of Federer, as well as we'll be comparing the points that we had for Nadal, and we'll see how that matches up with Federer and whether it's greater than that or less than that. And like I mentioned in my previous video, this points calculation is my personal opinion, is my personal priority. So it does not mean that it's the correct. So you can use your own perspective, your own opinions, and determine who is the greatest of all time, because it's definitely a subjective question. So let's move ahead. I think the factors remain the same from yesterday. So we have the Grand Slam titles, all the big titles I have listed down, then the number one ranking, the technical game, the mental strength, fitness, the unique selling proposition, or the most important weapon. Then we have the head to head, we have the fan favorite and critic favorite. So let's talk about all the points that are in Federer's favor. First of all, let's look at his records. Let's look at all these points. Federer's perspective. So as you can see, Grand Slam title count is the same as that of Nadal. Then we have the Masters 1000, which is actually less as compared to Nadal. It's 28. It's even less as compared to Djokovic. So that is why we have cut a point there, and it's like 8 points out of 10. Then we have the ATP finals. So Federer is leading in that category. He has got 6 titles there. The overall titles as well, it's the most as compared to Djokovic and Nadal. So it's 103. Then we have no Olympic singles titles, even though Federer does have a doubles title. Then the number one ranking, of course, is the most number of weeks, as well as the most number of consecutive weeks at 237. Now we have the technical game, so the relative weakness is backhand, and that also especially on clay. I think on the other surfaces it's manageable, it's good, and we also need to consider the fact that he uses the slice as well, which is a very good slice, which has a lot of variety. So I think backhand is not that big a weakness, but yes, it's a relative weakness. And then we have the forehand and the serve as the unique selling proposition. The head-to-head against Nadal and Djokovic is not good for Federer. That is why we have given only 6 points. And it's, in the next column, we have the priority. So we have considered the top 8 priority points, and we can see the total. So it's quite interesting. So compared to yesterday's tally, I think Nadal was at 127 points overall, and Federer comes out at 126. So just a point behind Nadal in terms of overall points. But then if we see the top 8 priority points, I think Nadal had 64 and Federer comes out to be 70. So he leads in that category. So tomorrow we'll also see how Djokovic compares to all these points with Federer and Nadal. But looking at this, I think if we go by the top 8 priority points, then Federer wins against Nadal in terms of the GOAT debate. But if you look at the overall points, it's pretty close. It's just 1 point, and as you know, these points have been given by me based on my analysis. So definitely they are not conclusive. So it's my personal opinion. I think in terms of priority points, Federer would lead Nadal, but overall, I think it will be Nadal just by a small margin. And we'll also see how Djokovic fares up tomorrow. But now let's talk about the points that are in favor of Federer for to be the greatest of all time. And I think if you see, we have the versatility, the grace, and the class. So don't mind here points in Rafa's favor. It's from yesterday, so I think it should be points in Federer's favor. But let's look at the points. So I think all shots in the book, definitely Federer is one of the players who has got almost all shots in the book, and not only he has got those shots, but he actually hits them pretty well. And he has some signature shots as well. For example, Nadal has the banana shot. For that matter, Federer has the tweener. Federer also has a good slice. Federer also has the saber sneak attack, and he also has a very good net game. He hits the ball on the rise pretty well, and of course on the aggressive mode, I think he's the best to watch. Then the third point is he is a clear winner when playing at his peak against everyone, except clay, of course. Nadal is the king of clay, but on every other surface, I think if Federer is playing at his peak, it's almost impossible to beat him. And when I say at his peak, I refer to the Federer that was playing in 2005 to 2007, because his movement was perfect at that time. Even though his game was still good post 2008, but his backhand was a bit weaker, and then his movement was not up to the mark, I would say, as compared to 2005 to 2007, where he was very, very good in his defensive abilities as well. But then later on, as his age progressed, I think that part of his game certainly declined, even though his shot making was still there. Then we have the forehand and the serve and the net game, of course. That's the unique selling proposition for him. Forehand has been his best shot, and I think it's only second to Nadal in terms of the overall reliability. Then he has the serve, which is, I think, the best serve in business today, even though he doesn't have the power or the speed of some of the other players. But in terms of accuracy and in terms of the ball toss being similar for different kinds of serves, I think it's the best. And time again, whenever he has needed, I think Federer has produced a good serve most of the time, and it has even helped him when he's not playing well. Then he has the net game. So I think when you compare him to Djokovic or Nadal, I think he still has the best net game, and he uses it the most as well. Maybe because of his age, but I think he certainly makes most of the half volley or even very tough volleys, you can say, difficult volleys with ease. So he definitely has more of a touch at the net. Then he's also got the Olympics doubles gold, even though he doesn't have the singles, but in doubles he was able to beat and win the game along with Stan Wawrinka. So I think that is definitely a big achievement. Then we have the consistency and longevity. So of course he has been playing tennis consistently for like more than 20 years now, and he has been the least injured of all, I would say. So definitely the longevity factor is there. He's still going strong, and I think he'll be coming back at the Australian Open as well as the Wimbledon next year. Then the most weeks at number one overall as well as consecutive. So I think the period from 2004 to 2007 was the dream period, the peak period for Federer, and he was ranked number one for consecutively 4 years. I think that is the most uh, consecutive ranking weeks for any player, and he was almost unplayable. I mean, every year we knew that Federer would be winning 3 out of 4 slams, and he will be trying his best in on the clay. And it's not like we thought that he has no chance. He definitely uh, had chances in all those 4 years with Nadal. Uh, but then Nadal was too good in all those tournaments, and it was almost impossible to beat him. But Federer did play well, and we can easily say that at that point of time, Federer was the second best on clay, just behind Nadal. So he was able to win against every other player, but only against Nadal he was failing to do so. And then comparing the overall titles, so I think he has more titles than Djokovic and Nadal, even though Djokovic and Nadal both have more Masters 1000, but Federer has the overall title count, which is greater than that of Djokovic and Nadal. And then the last point is the fan and critic favorite. So we all know that Federer, wherever he goes, even though when he goes to Spain or even when he goes to any other country, in which his opponent is there, still he has got a lot of support, and like 50% or even more of the fans cheer for him even when his opposition is in the home country. So I think that is a big factor. He's the fan favorite for like 20 years now. Even when he was winning, he was at the top, he was at his peak. Usually people support the underdog, but that was not the case with Federer. Most of the times he was still supported, and people wanted him to win, even though the matches were sometimes boring. because of the manner or the ease with which Federer was winning. Still, people wanted to see him win. That is the favoritism that he got from the fans throughout his career, as well as he's the favorite of the critics. So most of the pundits, most of the experts, and former players in tennis still consider Federer to be the greatest of all time. Even uh, Nadal's uncle and coach, former coach Tony Nadal, has recently said that for him, Federer will always be the greatest of all time. Now, such a statement coming from Nadal's side of the camp definitely means something, and also most of the other experts believe that Federer is definitely still the greatest of all time. Not by a big margin, of course, but they still believe so. So let me know, guys, what do you think? What's your opinion? So in the previous video, we talked about Nadal being the greatest ever. In this video, we talked about Federer being the greatest ever. In the next video, we'll also discuss about Djokovic being the greatest ever and how his points and how his titles and overall factors, compare with those of Federer and Nadal. So do comment on this video, and then I'll catch up with you tomorrow and talk about Djokovic. Thanks for watching.